I want to start this video off with a simple question. Have you ever made something for TF2? Whether it's art, a video guide, wouldn't it be cool if you got rewarded for making something? Well, wouldn't you know it, there really used to be something like this back in the day. Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum-ba-ba-ba-ba, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, skip-a-ba-dee-ba-dee-ba-dee-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, skip-a-da-dee-ba-dee-ba-dee-ba-ba-ba, skip-a-da-dee-ba-dee. Introducing community weapons! Community weapons were a way that Valve single-handedly picked out and rewarded community members for achieving something or helping out in some way. They're also really sparkly and shiny and cool looking. Valve used to give them out like candy, for a good reason of course. They gave them out to people who helped organize charities, wiki admins. They even gave a community weapon to the guy who made scrap at marketplace.tf. But here's the question, why did they stop handing them out? To answer this, I dug a tiny bit. And by digging, I mean I did a few Google searches and clicked around a bit. Valve stopped handing these out around 2012, with the last ones that I found being awarded to IU, the guy who made scrap.tf. I suppose the answer is kind of a mystery, since from 2012 to 2016, when the game was still getting constantly updated, we had huge charity events like Tip of the Hats and big name YouTubers come and go without being rewarded a community weapon. One of the biggest TF2 YouTubers, Star_, never got a community weapon, and no one from the Tip of the Hats charity event received one. A lot of older TF2 YouTube videos were also rewarded with community weapons. Jaeger, who made a TF2 tip and trick series on YouTube, was rewarded with one. I suppose Valve simply just forgot or deemed community rewarded weapons redundant. And I have a theory why. A lot of the early weapons that were given out were people who created maps. For example, the guy who made steel, Fishbus, was rewarded with a community wrench. Another example is the guy who created the equalizer. Before Valve added self-made weapons in the first community contribution pack in 2010, they got the idea of the equalizer from a blog post by a guy named Tom. Then they rewarded him with the community equalizer and then later escape plan. And also what's really crazy is that if you look at the other stuff in the blog, he practically predicted a lot of weapons like the extinguisher, your eternal reward, and the idea for a mini sentry. And at the very bottom he even labeled the page as stuff as Valve stole. This post was written back in 2008. Anyway, back on subject. Once Valve added stamps and self-made items into the game, they began to reward map makers with self-made maps, and weapon makers with the self-made weapons, which serve the same purpose. Hats! Coming this summer! Oh my fucking! Now I won't go into too much detail here since I've already talked about most of it before. But to reiterate, once Valve added self-made weapons and stamps into the game, that's likely the reason why they stopped giving out community weapons. The only thing I want to divulge on are hats. Valve used to give out special hats to community members. Mainly the people who won a contest or the child who beat cancer and got a hat from Make-A-Wish. There are hats that were specifically made for people, the 3 war contest winners and the top notch, and also technically the 3 daily ads, but that doesn't count. Now, there is a third type of hat. While not exactly rare, like a community hat or anything like that, it holds the same level of value in my eyes and some other community members' eyes. The Lo-Fi Long Way is the closest thing we have to community members being rewarded for their contributions to the game. Now for those of you who don't know, the Lo-Fi Long Way is a hat that the Critscast podcast hands out to the people who've done good in the community. There are 2 types of long waves, unique and vintages. Unique ones are rewarded to community members who participate in events, like the edging contest. Can't believe I wrote that down. Vintage ones are specifically selected to community members who contribute to the game, like Star and Uncle Dane have one. Now, don't go asking the Critscast for a long wave. They're quite adamant about not handing them out to any old chump. You gotta earn it, like the community weapons of years past. So what can the average player do to rep their love of the game? Honestly, besides the Lo-Fi Long Wave, nothing really. However, budget. Now I know this is kind of a side tangent, but while I don't think this is exactly a fix for the whole rewarding individual players, I do think that it would help. I think the way the current badge system works needs some refinement. It's ridiculous to say that someone who's been playing the game for 10 years is still just a mercenary. And most Soldier of Fortune and Grizzled Veteran players don't even play the game anymore. My suggestion is to do two things. Number one, make the current employee badges vintage. This would lock all the badges in place and be used to represent the original badge join date. Number two, add a new badge that upgrades over time, whether it's through playtime or general owning of a game. I would suggest that anyone who has played the game for more than 10 years gets a Grizzled Veteran badge. Anyone who's played the game for more than 5 years gets a Soldier of Fortune badge, and people who have just joined only get a Mercenary badge. The Primeval Warrior badge would stay the same as beta players only. As it is, no one outside of Little Timmy 2015 will equip the Mercenary unless they're, playing a silly little gibbous heavy. So to wrap things up here, I love the idea of Valve rewarding community members of their hard work in the game. While community weapons have been overshadowed by self-made and other hats, there is no denying that it would be nice to see them return. Granted, it would also be nice to see Valve return at this point, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, all I'm saying is, Valve, please give me a community weapon. I really